We're seeing this strategic decoupling play out right now, where the world's biggest energy customer just consciously decides, stability, freedom from political games. That's worth more than any discount America can offer.
It feels like more than just a market swing.
Oh, definitely. This isn't temporary volatility. We are looking, I think, at a permanent structural shift in global energy power.
That's really the heart of it, isn't it? So our mission today is to analyze this pretty drastic structural break. We're talking the sudden halt of all U.S. energy exports, crude, gas, coal to China, really culminating in June 2025.
Yeah, we need to unpack why China did this strategically.
Right, and then look at the uncomfortable fallout, especially for these huge U.S. infrastructure projects that were, frankly, built assuming Chinese demand would just keep going forever.
It's a cautionary tale about how quickly supply chains can snap and how much investment can get stranded.
Okay, before we unpack this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and support Geo9.
So to really grasp how final this break seems, we probably have to start where it all kicked off. Liquefied natural gas, LNG. That was the catalyst.
Okay, let's dig into that. Because this trade didn't just slow down, it went completely dark. China's LNG imports from the US, they collapsed, over 70% early in 2025?
That's right. And by March, shipments were officially zero. Done.
And the trigger was pretty abrupt, wasn't it?
Shockingly blunt, actually. In February 2025, Beijing just jacked up tariffs on American gas basically overnight. They went from an already high 15% to an astronomical 49%.
49%.
Yeah, that one move was essentially a death blow. It just immediately made U.S. cargoes mathematically impossible to buy compared to anyone else.
And the hidden damage here is the long-term stuff. We're talking about these massive long-term deals signed just recently, 2021, 2022.
Contracts meant to secure supply well into the 2040s from major players like Sync, ProChina.
And now, they're just sitting idle. You've got these huge terminals built specifically along the Gulf Coast to service this demand.
And suddenly, billions in critical infrastructure have lost their main customer, their anchor tenant. Gone.
And it wasn't just gas, right? Oil went the same way.
Exactly the same disastrous path. China was taking about 166,000 barrels of American crude per day in mid-2024.
Okay.
That number also fell to zero by March 2025.
Wow, and the drivers there. Similar story.
Twofold, really. Those higher U.S. tariffs definitely made American crude less competitive, yes. But the real kicker, the irresistible appeal of cheaper Russian barrels.
Oh, the discounts.
Huge discounts.
Yeah.
Russian oil is offering something like a steep $10 discount per barrel compared to Brent. So Chinese refiners get a massive financial break, and they get sort of political assurance by cutting the U.S. out.
Makes sense from their perspective.
Even coal shipments followed suit.
Yeah.
They used to bring in, $90 million a month for U.S. producers, now shrunk to almost nothing.
So every major energy commodity, same message.
Pretty much. The world's largest energy consumer has effectively written America out of its long-term plans.
Which brings us back to the strategy. If it's not purely about price anymore, then what this really means is the driving factor is, trust, supply stability.
Precisely. You hit it. Chinese refiners, they basically said, look, we cannot rely on American supply when your politics can just flip overnight and wreck multi-billion-dollar arrangements. Stability is now worth more than a temporary discount.
And we saw that play out quite dramatically with something people don't always track. Ethane.
Yes, ethane. That essential chemical building block, absolutely key for China's huge plastics and manufacturing sector. For a while, that seemed like the one resilient link.
But that snapped too.
Snapped completely in May 2025. And this time, interestingly, the policy came from Washington.
Oh, really? What happened?
Well, Washington imposed these new U.S. licensing rules specifically for ethane exports. And these weren't just, standard paperwork.
Yep.
No, they required the sort of political certification. Proof that the sale served U.S. national security interests. A process so vague, so slow, and so obviously subject to political moods, it instantly became a non-starter for the Chinese.
That almost makes Beijing's point for them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sheer hassle, the uncertainty of getting political sign-off for every shipment, it screams unreliability.
It really does. And the result was immediate chaos. You had tankers carrying, I think, 284,000 barrels per day just stranded, unable to ship. Executives were terrified. Every future deal would become a political fight.
So what did China do?
Their response was swift, decisive. They turned immediately to the Middle East for ethane.
But wait a second. If stability is the goal, paying up to $700 more per ton for Middle Eastern ethane, isn't that just bad economics? How long can they justify paying such a huge premium just to avoid Washington? Is that sustainable?
That's an excellent question, and it gets to the heart of how Beijing defines sustainable now. For them, apparently, the cost of political risk, the risk of interruption, is demonstrably higher than the commodity premium.
So they'll pay more for certainty.
They're willing to absorb that higher price to guarantee uninterrupted supply from partners they feel they can trust, like in the Middle East. But it's more than that. Their whole strategy has shifted towards guaranteed long-term, non-sea-based sources.
You mean the pipelines?
Exactly. They are pulling significantly more gas and oil through Russian and Central Asian pipelines now. It accounts for a staggering 40% plus of their total imports.
40%.
And at the same time, they're aggressively boosting their own domestic output. That was already climbing about 5.6% in 2023.
So when you add guaranteed pipelines to more domestic production,
The bottom line is Beijing just doesn't need U.S. energy the way it used to. They've engineered a kind of structural independence.
if you're finding these insights useful, take a second to subscribe to Geo9. It really motivates me to keep sharing more research stories like this.
Okay, so it feels like more than just a commercial shift. It's like they're surgically removing the U.S. from their long-term risk assessment. And this is interesting. There's apparently a green angle to this too. Yes, and this is a really critical nuance, I think. Cutting reliance on imported U.S. fossil fuels isn't just a political statement. It also serves their long-term goals for energy security, and it aligns with their climate mitigation efforts.
Right, I saw the data on that. China's carbon emissions actually fell by 1% in the first half of 2025. Now, 1% might sound small.
But for an economy that size, with 1.4 billion people, it's a huge signal. It shows their energy mix, their energy DNA is genuinely changing.
Yeah, that's significant.
It is. And what's more, their power sector intensity, basically how much carbon you emit to produce a unit of energy that dropped by 3%. That's down to cleaner grids, massive investment in renewables, and much tougher efficiency standards.
So if China can meet its energy needs through those pipelines we mentioned, plus their own growing clean power,
Then U.S. fossil fuels just become structurally undesirable, even if political pies somehow magically improve down the road.
so connecting the dots here, they achieve a climate goal, they weaken Washington's potential leverage, and they guarantee their supply lines. They're basically ensuring energy dependency can't be used as a bargaining chip against them anymore.
And if we connect that to the fallout for the U.S., well, the consequences are immediate.
Happen.
And painful. American crude exports dropped to the weakest level since 2021. Shipments to all of Asia are at historic lows.
You can almost feel the squeeze happening right now along the Gulf Coast. Those massive LNG terminals, the export hubs, built entirely on the assumption of endless Chinese demand.
Now they face this looming threat of obsolescence. U.S. oil is getting pushed into smaller markets, less profitable ones, often at steep discounts. That just slashes producer profits.
And the irony here is pretty sharp too, isn't it? This contradiction where U.S. policy seems to be hurting itself.
Oh, it's biting, definitely.
Right.
The U.S. tariffs on Chinese solar panels and wind components, which were meant to help U.S. manufacturers, they backfired spectacularly, actually.
Wait, explain that. So we punish China by blocking their clean energy tech, and their response is to stop buying our fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And those same tariffs we imposed make our own clean energy transition more expensive and slower.
It's a perfect storm of, well, uncoordinated policy. A political cell phone, as you put it. The decoupling cuts off U.S. energy from its biggest market, while making U.S. clean energy projects slower and pricier. It damages our own momentum.
The political alarm bells must be ringing loudly.
They are. Officials in states like Texas, Louisiana, the big energy states, they're already warning publicly about job losses. We're talking skilled engineers, construction workers, people building those next-gen export hubs.
Because the demand isn't there.
They're basically admitting that these massive LNG terminals representing tens of billions in investment might never operate at the full capacity they were designed for.
That kind of stranded infrastructure, that's a huge cost. A tangible cost of strategic miscalculation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yet, what really stands out here, despite this collapse in, the world's biggest bilateral energy trade, global market prices have stayed surprisingly stable. Oil prices are steady, LNG prices too.
It's true.
So it makes you wonder, are other buyers just quietly picking up the slack? Is someone replacing China's demand? Or is this just the calm before a bigger storm? A deeper structural reset the markets haven't fully priced in yet?
Well, there is some relief coming, mainly from India. India has definitely ramped up its U.S. crude imports. Went from about 175,000 barrels per day to over 250,000 in just a few months.
Okay, that's something.
They're absorbing some coal, too, but
But India, even growing fast, it's just not China, is it? Its total energy appetite isn't nearly enough to fill the hole China left.
exactly. It's soft.